Hello everybody and welcome to the Play Your Part project. Today we're going to look at an introduction to play and participation. But first I just would like to introduce myself. My name is Olivia Brown and I'm a play worker for PlayBoard NI, and I'll be taking you through this first session of the Play Your Part project. So for those who don't know what Play Your Part actually is, it started off as a one-year pilot project led by PlayBoard and funded by the Education Authority. And the aim for this project was to support youth groups like yourselves to embed a culture of effective participation and practice with children aged 4 to 8. So for those children who wouldn't usually be involved in the planning and the participation in their activities, this was what this project was for. So the goal then was to develop a training framework alongside a set of participatory tools to support youth workers to create an environment that ensures the views and opinions of the voices of children aged 4 to 8 are heard within youth settings. Within this project then, there's also an on-site visit done by PlayBoard member of staff, and they will come out to your setting and be able to model some participatory tools just to really support your effective practice in your setting. So Session 1 then, today's session, what are the aims? We're hopefully going to have a better understanding of the importance of play. Play is so important for children and young people, especially in such a young age, age 4 to 8. So we're hoping to understand the importance of play and the importance of play-based approaches in the youth work setting. We also are going to explore the similarities and the differences of a play work and youth work approach before taking into session 2, which will really be based on participation in a youth work setting. Just before we go on, I'd like to discuss who PlayBoard NI actually are. For those who don't know, we're the leading membership organisation for children's play and school-age childcare in Northern Ireland. PlayBoard were established in 1985 and throughout the years has focused experience at strategic and operational levels. PlayBoard represent play and play work in Northern Ireland on the local, national and international groupings, and we work alongside the 4 nations, that's Play England, Play Scotland and Play Wales. Within PlayBoard, we exist to promote, create and develop quality play opportunities to enhance the lives of children and young people in every community in Northern Ireland. So what can you expect from Play Your Part then? Well, if you were to take part in this project, there would be 3 fun, informal Zoom sessions with lots of activities and group work included. We're hopefully going to try and do these face-to-face, but for now we're keeping them on Zoom just with COVID restrictions. With these sessions, you are required to attend all 3, and that would be an introduction to play like we're looking at today, on participation, specifically for 4 to 8-year-olds, and play participation and the Play Your Part toolkit. Again, I mentioned there's an on-site visit, as well as facilitator's guide, a toolkit and a literature review, and you can find all these on Padlet. There's also a media pack, which will include webinars like this and posters as well to promote participation in your setting. So yes, just a little bit further on the toolkit then. It's really just based around play participation. It's got lots of theories, and in the appendix, there's lots of different activities that you would be able to take to your setting and model these and work with children aged 4 to 8. There's also the facilitator's guide, which is just an overview of participation theory and how youth work practitioners can introduce the toolkit and practice within the setting. As well as there's the literature review on Padlet, and that has lots of different the theory behind how we have built up the toolkit and the facilitator's guide. As well as the media pack and posters. So the poster ideas, there's 4 different posters, and these are to promote participation within the setting and the voice and the rights of the voice of the child. There's also support videos and webinars like this that you're watching today. But before we go any further into participation, we need to look at how play affects young children and why children need to play. For those who don't know, play is a right for young children. It's the same as having a right to safety, a right to the voice. It's a right as outlined in Article 31 of the United Nations Conventions for the Rights of the Child. Play does happen in varied and interesting environments that maximise the potential for socialising, creativity, resourcefulness and challenge. And play happens in a place where children feel free to play in their own way, in their own terms. So that, for example, could be coming into your youth setting and allowing children to play freely with what they would like to do that evening. It is what children and young people do when they follow their ideas in their own ways and for their own reasons. But why is play so important? Well, playing really is crucial to children's physical, mental, social, emotional health and well-being, and therefore to their families and their communities as a whole. I mean, if you have happy children in the home, in school, then coming into your youth settings, the setting is going to feel like a happier place. Children do have that innate urge to play, and recent research suggests that playing has an impact on the physical and chemical development of children's brains. So what are the benefits of play then? Well, children, as I say, they don't need to be told to play because they're having fun. That's the one reason in PlayBoard that we cannot stress enough. The play is fun for children. It also improves their imagination and creativity. That could be through arts and crafts, it could be through small world toys, the use of loose parts, which we'll discuss a little bit later on. There's so many ways that play can improve children's imagination and creativity. As well as this, then, it allows children to manage their own risk. In PlayBoard, we're big advocates for risky play and sort of more deep, rough and tumble play as play types. Risk management can be scary for us as adults, but it's a really important thing for children to be able to learn how to do at a very young age. And we'll talk about that a bit more later. Play also improves children's mental and physical health. At the minute, coming out of a global pandemic, it could not be more important that children get to have the free time, the time, space, and permission to play. As well as their mental health, it's so important for children's physical health as well. All the freedom to run, to jump, to climb, this is going to benefit them in so many ways. Reduces obesity, benefits their fine and gross motor skills. The possibilities with play are just endless. It also improves the resilience, and this could be through more risky play, but it could also be through negotiation skills. So if there was a bit of an argument in play, which I'm sure many youth workers will see all the time, being able as an adult to stand back and watch how children negotiate and work on their negotiation skills and build up their resilience is so important. Again, this helps them promotes their independence. Play is also a good way for children to regulate their emotions. At the minute, I have been in settings where I've seen children using hand sanitizer, pretend hand sanitizer, and maybe fighting off the COVID monsters. This is a way for children to be able to regulate how things have gone on over the last few years. As well as this, there could be things in children's lives like transitions with a new baby, for example, that might be playing mummies and babies and things like that. So there's lots of different ways that play actually helps children regulate their emotions, which in turn then helps them learn through play. Children can learn through play. They might be bringing topics from school into your youth setting that they've been working on, but it also helps them learn about the world around them and how their environment can change and everything along those lines as well. For me, I have to talk a little bit about playing outdoors. This is the best kind of play possible. If we were to think about our own play memories as adults, a lot of us would think about playing outdoors and climbing those trees and jumping in muddy puddles and riding our bikes. Today, children don't get as much time to be out in their natural environment for reasons such as traffic reasons, safety, safeguarding issues, as well as the number one big reason is technology, which is very sad. So we in PlayBoard are big advocates for getting children playing outdoors as much as possible. Evidence suggests that time spent in their natural environment offers developmental, emotional, and overall health benefits for children, as well as benefits such as increased creativity and problem solving, reduced stress and anxiety, and increased physical activity. So with, as adults, if we were to go for a walk after being stuck in the house all day, it really benefits myself to be able to get out into the fresh air. So I can't imagine what after 6 hours of a school day it's like for children to be able to get out and be free. And I know that some youth settings don't particularly have the space to get outdoors, but if you do, and if you're lucky enough to have the space, try and get them out as much as possible. And if you're not, try and get some planning days where you can take them to a different setting, maybe it'd be the park or the beach, etc. It really does mean that children are happier, healthier, calmer, more physically active, and the list goes on. I did mention briefly earlier on loose parts, and for those who don't know what loose parts are, they're something that I like to describe as things that I could find in my recycling bin. So they could be cardboard boxes, egg cartons, milk cartons, etc. And these loose parts are items that can be used in any way that children choose. So for example, a cardboard box, as an adult, we look at it and go, well, there's a cardboard box. But for young children, they can look at it and go, wow, I'm going to build a house, or I'm going to build a car or a castle, and the list goes on. So loose parts can be adapted and manipulated in many different ways. They could paint them, they could cut them up, they could stick things to them. Loose parts really do encourage creativity and imagination within children and allow them to develop more skills and competence than most modern plastic toys. A lot of the time, at Christmas time when children get all these new toys, they really just want to play in the box. So that just goes to show you how they want to use their imagination. They can be used in combination with other materials to support imagination. So that could be making a rocket ship out of tubes and plastic tubing and different things like that. And they encourage open-ended learning as well. A lot of loose parts, again, are natural and eco-friendly, all the recyclable materials. And this is great because they're cheap, free, cheap and free found. You don't have to worry about funding for loose parts as such. You can get them at home, you can use them and bring them into your setting and have a big box and just replenish them every week. And this is a great way to encourage children to play with things that aren't just plastic toys. And here's just some examples of loose parts. You can see there's guttering used in the middle there for car ramps. There's some mud kitchens going on. You've got tires used as planters, but also as storage for Small World. You've then got my old favourite, the cardboard box, being used as a den with a parachute over it. How fun would that be if you were a child? So moving on then from resources that you might want to use in your setting for play, we're just going to look at the role of the adult whenever it comes to children playing. I mean, if you were to look at this continuum, where would you see yourself? If you have a think in your head, where would you see yourself? Would your setting be more adult-led, or would it be a more child-led space? Now, we do realise that in youth settings, if we were to allow for a fully child-led play, and no adult-led at all, it would be very chaotic. So we do understand that some sort of structure is needed. With this, though, we did want to highlight the importance for youth settings to allow for free child-led activities, to highlight the difference from an educational environment, so school, where it is all structured and they have that all day, every day, during the week, until they come to your voluntary youth setting. So it's important to look at then how we can maybe move slightly away from that adult-led play to be able to allow children to get a bit more involved in their play. So we want to look at how we can help create the play space. That's something we really want to do. So that could be an adult-led plan as such, but with children's participation. So it could be a suggestion box on how they want their setting to look. Again, how they want you to resource their play space. It's your job to resource it, but it would be great if the children could be involved, if you asked them a little bit about what they wanted. And in our toolkit, there's lots of different activities and ways that show you how you can encourage that participation. As the adult, you do want to stimulate the children's play, so providing the good resources, providing fun things that you think you look at maybe one week that's really popular, so you'll keep that for the next week, but maybe if there's something that's not so popular, how could you maybe take that away? You also want to look out for what types of play are there. Bob Hughes has 16 play types, and that will be shared on Padlet. If you're getting, say, 13, 14 out of the 16 play types, you're doing great. but if there's maybe 6 or 7, there is room for improvement there. So you could be looking at what play is going on and what maybe needs to be added in. You want to protect the play space, so that could be your environment. So keeping your environment, the resources and the environment safe, clean, tidy, all those sorts of things, but allowing for children to be involved in that as well. So that could be who tidies up what week and things like that. And you also want to campaign for your play space as well. Interrupting the play is not what we're all about in PlayBoard. Unfortunately, we like to take that step back, that play workers approach. So children can ask, if children ask you to play with them, or if you've read a play cue, for example, it could be skipping, and they would like your help with holding the skipping rope, that's a play cue. But if children are happy and playing away and doing what they like to do, it's best not to interrupt them. For example, if a child's drawing a picture of what you think is a boat, and you ask them, oh, that's a great boat you're drawing, and they say that's not a boat, you've probably upset them, you know. So you just want to take a step back, leave them if they're happy, unless then, of course, a child is unhappy or distressed. If there's something's gone on that you notice a child is unhappy and distressed, you can then step in as the adult. Don't interrupt the play unless children are really in a big dispute and they're possibly getting violent or something along those lines. But if it's just a little bit of an argument and they can figure it out themselves, like we spoke about earlier, those negotiation skills are brilliant. So try not to step in unless it's absolutely necessary in the children's play. So let's just look at challenging play or risky play. This deep play is a play type, as mentioned earlier on. As a setting, I know that risk is a scary word for all adults who are looking after other people's children. But in PlayBoard, we do follow a risk-benefit assessment. That's instead of just doing a risk assessment. This allows you to look at what you've got, what play you've got on offer, and then to look at if the benefits of this type of play outweigh the risks that may occur in your setting. So for example, if you allow football in your setting, you'll have to discuss the risks, so slips, falls, breakages of limbs, etc. But then you'll discuss the benefits. So the benefits of hand-eye coordination, physical fitness, social teamwork, all the fun that could possibly be had whenever they're having a game of football. So here it would look like the benefit outweighs the risk. The way this is done is on a risk-benefit assessment form, and this will also be available for you to look at on Padlet. It'll be there for you to look at, to be able to fill it in to meet your own settings needs. So here on the screen is just a few benefits of risky play. So for example, if a child was to be outside climbing a tree, they would be developing their own self-esteem, learning their own capabilities. So do I get a wee bit higher, or should I go back down now because I'm too high? You know, things like that. That's nurturing their curiosity. They're developing their balance and coordination. All the things that can be seen on the screen, the risk-benefit assessment you will see that in the risk-benefit assessment, and you'll see that in children's play in your setting as well. In PlayBoard then, we work off the PlayWork curriculum, and this follows quality play provision. And here in quality play provision, here are just some points that makes for better quality play on offer. So first of all, having a variety of choice in space and resources is really important in your setting. Think about some zones in different areas that you might think, okay, we could have a physical zone here, but possibly an arts and crafts or a creative zone here. It gives children variety, and they'll be able to let them move freely around those zones as much as they want. As well as this, you've got challenge and uncertainty. Again, those different risky play, allowing them to get involved is really important. Loose parts, if you don't have them in your setting, which I'm sure a lot of youth settings don't at the minute, it's really, really important to get them in there because the children will love them. Allowing children freedom to move around from zone to zone, from space to space. So if they're maybe making something in the loose parts but want to go and paint it in arts and crafts, allow them to do that. It's great to have children, school-age childcare, mixing from P1 right up in your settings. This is specific to 4 to 8-year-olds and how we can encourage their participation, but allowing all children to mix will really have a benefit, and children of all ages learn from each other. As well as this, then you've got the natural world and the elements. So again, getting them outside as much as possible in your setting is really important. You will see the fire pit there is part of the elements. A lot of, obviously, adults will be very scared to have children near fire and things, but if it was an activity that you would be open to, for example, having a wee fire pit, toasting some marshmallows, I've done it in so many play sessions, and it's always the children's favourite thing to do. If you just have a bit of a chat with them about the safety aspect first, 100% they will love every minute of it. So we work as play workers off the play work principles. These are the play work principles here. There's 8 principles. I'm going to discuss them with you, and then we're going to look then at the youth work principles. So play work principle number 1 is what we've discussed already, that all children and young people need to play. The impulse to play is innate, and play is a biological, psychological and social necessity, and is fundamental to healthy development and well-being of individuals and communities. Play is a process that is freely chosen, personally directed and intrinsically motivated. That is, that children and young people will determine and control the content of their play by following their own instincts, ideas and interests in their own way for their own reasons. So letting them have that freedom is so important. Number 3 then is the prime focus and the essence of play work is to support and facilitate the play process, and this should inform the development of play policy, strategy, training and education. Number 4 is that for play workers, the play process takes precedence, and play work act as advocates for play when engaging in adult-led agendas. So if you're doing your planning in your setting, really enforce the need and the importance of play. Number 5 is that the role of the play worker is to support all children and young people in the creation of a space where they can play. Again, we discussed this earlier, so giving the children quality play space as well as the time and permission to be able to engage in play. So number 6 then, the play worker's response to children and young people playing is based on sound up-to-date knowledge of the play process and reflective practice. So that's what you're learning about today. You're learning about the play process, why it's important. You'll be able to take that back and use that in your reflective practice then in your setting. Number 7 is that play workers recognise their own impact on the play space and also the impact of children and young people's play on the play worker. And number 8, play workers choose an intervention style that enables children and young people to extend their play. All play worker intervention must balance with the risk with developmental benefit and well-being of children. So that's what we've just talked about, the risk-benefit approach to play, and standing back and allowing for children to invite you into their play as necessary. So then how does that differ from what you all know yourselves? If you may not have been with the play work principles, now we've got the youth work principles, which I'm sure everybody knows off by heart. But we'll talk about them anyway, and we'll look at the differences and similarities to play work. So this model of effective practice, as you know, was developed to try and demonstrate in a visual way the thinking and the core themes and values underpinning the whole work of the youth sector. So youth work is concerned with the personal and social development of young people. The 3 core principles are a vehicle through which to achieve this. So personal and social development is about the young person gaining knowledge, understanding, awareness of him or herself as an individual and as an active participant in relationships with others. The relationship then between the youth worker and the young person is a key factor in the process. And that is very similar to your work as a play worker. Building relationships is so important with the children that you work with in any setting. So participation really is a key element of the youth work process, and we will talk about participation fully in week 2. But it is a way of thinking and working which facilitates joint decision making by young people and youth workers, and it also promotes personal and social development. Again, through play, we've discussed that play also promotes personal and social development in all those ways that we talked about earlier on. So there's a key similarity between the two. As well as this then, youth work principles, the promotion of acceptance and the understanding of others involves enabling young people to respect and value themselves and others. Once again, that could be seen as the play work element in there, with standing back and allowing children to be able to work together, and then therefore they will have some respect and will then value themselves and other children as well. And within youth work, values and beliefs tend to be learned from others, including parents, peers, teachers, and youth workers. These people play an important role in the shaping of lives of young people by passing on a value and belief system. So, you know, that just as much as, okay, you maybe not spending as much time as teachers, but children in your settings will look up to you. So any way that you are working with children, you're going to be showing them examples and allowing them to look to you. So let's just look at the 4 wee elements here before we move on. So we've got belonging, a sense of community, loving others and being. Mastery, competence in many areas, cognitive, physical, social and spiritual. Having self-control, responsibility, striving to achieve personal goals rather than superiority. Independence, making one's own decisions and being reasonable for failure or success. Setting one's own goals and disciplining oneself. And generosity, looking forward to being able to contribute to others, to be able to give cherished things to others. And these 4 are so important whenever you're working with children as young as 4 years old. You really want to be able to just give them that drive from such a young age. Even things like generosity, being able to give cherished things to others. A 4-year-old might not want to share their favourite thing in youth club, but being able to show these principles from an early age is really so important. So briefly, we're just going to talk about the play work and youth work approaches and how they look different and how they look similar. So play work, we've talked about a lot today. This session really is on play and play work. But play work is an approach to working with children in which children determine and control the content and intent of their play rather than being led or directed. And the play work approach, as I've mentioned, follows the principles play work curriculum. So we've discussed it. It's child-led, and children are provided with opportunities and space to bring up their own ideas and initiate their own activities. So that's really what we want to emphasize coming away from today's session. You as a youth worker, you want to be able to encourage child-led play. You want to be able to give them that space to get involved in different activities with different children in their setting, and allow them to have as much freedom and choice as physically possible, without going to that other end of the spectrum and going back to adult-led. You can plan yourself for the resources. You can plan what you're doing in your youth setting that week, but it's so important to be able to ask the children where they want to go rather than telling them where they have to go. Getting a wee suggestion box going, maybe doing a bit of circle time or some different activities that we will have given you in the toolkit. These activities will be able to show you as the adults how the children really want their sessions to go. The youth work approach then. So effective youth work helps young people to identify their personal and social development needs, and that needs to be starting at age 4. It goes without saying that the uniqueness of youth work is that young people of all abilities and often diverse interests choose to participate regularly on a voluntary basis, and that is when they get that little bit older. So they're volunteering their ideas to you. You probably do a lot of chatting with, you know, the pre-teens, the teenagers, about what they like in their setting. But it's really about extending that and how we can make that as child-friendly and playful as possible whenever we're working with children and young people. And thirdly, then, non-formal education. So you're not a school. You're not getting them to leave the 6 hours a day in school to come and do more formal work and formal play. You know, youth work encourages children and young people's participation to develop their personal social skills, encouraging them to engage or re-engage in positive learning in a non-formal setting. And that just comes from the Priorities of Youth, Department of Education 2013. So let's look at both approaches then. I mean, both approaches are all about encouraging children and young people to voice and share their opinions. They both give free choice. They both have the welfare of children and young people at heart. Both follow Article 12 of the UNCRC, which enshrines participation rights, including the right to express opinions and have those opinions taken into account. So this isn't about asking children what they would like and then never doing it, because that will really damage self-esteem. This is about taking their ideas and making a big deal out of it the next week and showing them that their voice is listened to. Article 12 is such an important right, just as Article 31 is of the United Nations Convention. So it's really rounding it up that both have and should have a very much play focus. We've highlighted the importance of play, especially for 4 to 8-year-olds during this session. We really would like to encourage you as a participant watching this webinar today to encourage and consider the play offer within your own environment. So think about what you're doing now and what you might like to do after today, and what might you like to add in after today and after reading our toolkit and our activities on participation. And we've begun then obviously to explore the similarities between youth work and play work. So in session 2 then, with Aisling in session 2, she'll be taking you through just a lot more in depth about participation, what it means to you and what it means to encourage participation for 4 to 8-year-olds. I just want to say, most importantly though, remember when coming out of today's session, the most important thing for children in your setting is that they're having fun and are happy. Okay? Thank you so much for listening.